Long before ethnic cleansing began in Bosnia, it had already started in Kosovo. Since at least February 1990, Serbian police and paramilitary units have brutally repressed Albanian strikes and protests. The Serbs have closed Albanian schools, courts, and newspapers. 60,000 Serbian army troops have reportedly turned Pristina, Kosovo's capital, into an armed camp. Some 2 million Albanians make up a large majority of Kosovo's population, 85 to 90%. Yet they no longer have the right to study or even to have street signs in their own language.
And it is our conviction that human rights are indivisible, that the violation of human rights of any group or any individual, for whatever reasons, ethnic, religious, linguistic, cultural, are human rights violations that ought to concern all of us. The most distinguished chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Senator Claiborne Pell of Rhode Island, has arrived, and I would like to call on him first to make whatever observations he would care to do so. Senator Pell.
I thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for your courtesy and hospitality, permitting me to speak and run. But like you, we all have many commitments. I think that Yugoslavia is experiencing a very difficult time, and there's a real prospect, as we all know in this room particularly, that one or more of the republics may end up seceding. In this situation, you would think that the last thing the defenders of the unity of Yugoslavia would want to do is to stir up ethnic tension in Serbia, which was the core around which, as I understand it, Yugoslavia was built. Yet that's exactly what's happened. The Serbian government, acting with substantial support from the national government, is brutally repressing human and political rights in the autonomous province of Kosova, which is 90% of the population of which is Albanian. And I can remember myself being there on the shores of Lake Arkrid, near the area of Kosova, and seeing and realizing that the people around me were Albanian.
It gives me great pleasure to call on a distinguished former colleague, most effective former member of the Executive Committee of the Congressional Human Rights Caucus, who has fought for human rights on many continents and in many different situations, and who has taken such a prominent leadership role on this issue, the Honorable Joe DioGuardi.
Mr. Chairman, I see our good colleague, Congressman Hank Brown there, and I'm wondering whether or not he has other business, and I would be happy to defer to him if he has a statement.
I'll be most happy to call on my friend and colleague from Colorado if he would like to proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I suspect I will learn a great deal coming after our former colleague, so I will defer.
Thank you very much. It's all yours, Congressman DioGuardi.
Well, thank you very much, Congressman Lantos and Congressman Porter, for all you are doing for oppressed people all over the world. Some of my proudest days in the House of Representatives was as an executive committee member of the Congressional Human Rights Caucus, serving with you on so many issues, including Tibet and Soviet Jewry, and certainly the issue today in Kosova. But I'm also very happy today to be still a part of you as a member of the board of the Congressional Human Rights Foundation. And I applaud all that you're doing there as well, and Congressman Gilman and Congressman Hank Brown, and thank you for your support. I have to thank the real freedom fighters today, my dear co-chairman, the people who died, Now, there are hundreds of people who have died, but it's not easy to get information in Yugoslavia, not easy at all. But let's start with the 27 documented cases in 1989 in those demonstrations, and the 34 documented cases early this year in January and February. And let's talk about the Gervala brothers that were killed and shot down in cold blood, along with another civil rights activist, Enver Hadre, and the papers in Brussels. I went there to eulogize him. The family allowed me to go to his funeral. The papers all pointed to the Serbian secret police, believe it or not. State terrorism is alive and well, maybe not in Moscow, but in Belgrade. I was forced to go and testify. I wasn't forced to testify, but I was forced to wear a bulletproof vest when I went to Geneva, and again when I did rallies in front of the United Nations in New York. In Geneva, I went there because Mr. Hadri was shot down because he was ready to deliver to the special rapporteur the 34 names documented. I took those names literally off his body. His wife gave them to me, and I continued that journey under threats, and I had to wear a bulletproof vest. And you've heard the stories from Congressman Broomfield about Peter Iveze. Can you imagine 5 years after a demonstration in New York in 1981 or in Detroit, he goes back and they had his picture, Udba, and they arrested him and they put him in jail, and it literally took a hearing that I remember you were at, Congressman Gilman and Congressman Broomfield and myself, to get him released. And we have all this good news today. Why all of a sudden are the Serbs so generous? They're letting go Azem Vlasi and the other political prisoners, and they say all of them. I doubt that very much. And they're all of a sudden lifting a state of emergency. We know that is nonsense. We know that they're trying to paper over one of the most oppressive regimes the world has ever seen. Apartheid is alive and well. It now exists in Yugoslavia in the Kosovo province. It is now gone from South Africa, or at least it's going. And Yugoslavia has a Nelson Mandela, or at least the Albanians have, Adam Damace, who was in jail for over 27 years. And Nelson Mandela was released before even any talk of releasing Adam Damace occurred. So I have to thank those freedom fighters that died, and I have to thank the 15 that flew here just in the last 2 days from Kosova, and believe it or not, threats have already been received. There are security agents and FBI agents back there. Some have to travel in bulletproof limousines already. It's the truth. Now, if this is America, and if we're going to stand up for a system that is supposed to be equal and fair, certainly our government has to take a strong position. And I hope we're not going to be swayed by all of a sudden this generosity that comes on the day of our hearing, when you know they tried to cancel this hearing, postpone it, and do so many other things. Let me also thank those hundreds, perhaps over 1,000 Albanians that listened to me as I made and spoke in your name, Congressman Lantos and Congressman Porter, because you know how hot it was out there. They listened to me, and as like the Pied Piper, they followed me outside, and I said, don't disrupt this hearing. Let it go. It's important for Kosova. Wait to 2 and 3 hours. Be like Gandhi, like the people in Kosova. The terrorists are not the Albanians. It's the Serbian authorities. The only ones that are being killed today are Albanians. The only lists of deaths that I see are Albanians, not Serbs. How can they be terrorists? The communists, and by the way, this is the issue. The issue is not religion. If it were religion, what are 1,500,000 Christian Slovenes doing supporting the Kosovars if this were a religious issue? The issue is not terrorism, not certainly Albanian terrorism, because Albanians don't fire back. They've learned to be like Gandhi, to be like Martin Luther King, and literally they demonstrated that today by leaving those halls outside so this meeting could continue, and they traveled from California, Dallas, and all over. And I want to thank those people as well. The continuation of apartheid and the denial of democracy cannot restore political stability either in Yugoslavia or in Kosovo. The United States Congress, Mr. Chairman, has contributed to the liberalization of other countries in Eastern Europe, and I urge that it contribute likewise to the improvement of human rights conditions in Kosovo and Yugoslavia. Thank you so much for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much, Congressman DioGuardi.
I have some couple of questions.
I would like to suggest that if any member of the panel has questions, if you take your seat, we'll proceed with questions.
Sure.
Congresswoman Bentley.
Mr. DioGuardi, you need to be accurate when you're a witness, especially when you're a paid lobbyist for a group.
I'm an ethnic Albanian.
Now you have to be accurate.
I'm an ethnic Albanian. I'm an ethnic Albanian. I'm the president of the Albanian American Civic League and the Albanian American Foundation, and I resent those intonations.
All right. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Chair would like to thank Congressman DioGuardi.
May I respond, please, to...
Of course.
Okay. I would like to say this. I don't indict the Serbian people. I don't question Congresswoman Bentley's motives. She's proud of her ethnic background the way I'm proud of mine. And I applaud her that she could stand up for them the way I stand up for Albanians. And I want to see freedom-loving people everywhere treated the way they're supposed to be treated. But Congresswoman Bentley, the Yugoslav Constitution says that all ethnic groups in Yugoslavia should be treated equally. I think the issue here today is that the Albanians are not getting the same treatment as the other groups, and really that's what this is all about, plus the fact that while communism is on the decrease in Yugoslavia in general, as we've seen with the Slovenian and the Croatian elections, it doesn't seem to be diminishing in Serbia, and that's the problem, because that's where Kosova is. So let's hope we can all work together. The issue here is to get dialogue. You and I spoke over the weekend, and you said that perhaps we should sit down with Congressman Lantos, and I applaud you for that. I think that we should sit down. I went to speak to Milosevic. He wouldn't speak to me. Now, maybe I'm not the one he wants to speak to, but maybe there are others he should speak to. But how about you and me deciding to meet to see if we can find reasonable voices on both sides, to put them across the table, to finally get equality for everybody in Yugoslavia, because that's the way it is here in America, and that's God's way.
We appreciate Mr. DioGuardi's, Congressman DioGuardi's efforts, not only today but in the past, for his continual fight for human rights, no matter where they may be, whether it's in Albania, whether it's in Yugoslavia, whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's in Ireland, no matter where it is. Congressman DioGuardi has been an outstanding advocate of human rights, and we appreciate his continual efforts. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.